Storytime, my toxic best friend outed me to the entire school. So one day, one of my best friends from a neighboring school decided to move to my school, and she was extremely upset because her best friend over there came out as bi. So I ended up using this as an opportunity to come out bi as well. And she was like, well, it's okay for you. I just got really close to her. We'll call the girl Becky because no one likes a Becky. And we can call her friend Heather. So fast forward to after the situation had calmed down, we decided to all go prom dress shopping. So Heather and I were talking and we really hit it off. And I think Becky legitimately forgot about our sexuality because we were all talking about how much we have in common, and we brought that up as well. She just looked at us and was like, oh, I forgot about that. And she just shrugged it off. But we continued to hang out for a few weeks. One of these weekends, we all went to church together, and the sermon was about how God accepts you no matter what your sexuality is. But of course, Becky turns around to us and says that Heather and I could never date because it would F everything up. Later that day, Heather actually ended up admitting that she had feelings for me, and this is when Becky lost it. Stay tuned for part 2 and follow me on Instagram. Part 2 of my toxic best friend outing me to the entire school. So at the beach later that day, Heather and I decided to tell Becky how we felt. She freaked and wouldn't talk to us and locked herself in the bathroom. And we had to tell her that it's fine, we won't date, just so she would let herself out. I thought she was being entirely selfish, not wanting her best friends to be happy. And then she literally took my phone and went through all of our texts together. She woke up the next day all ready for Heather and I to be together and completely apologized. And then when we went to the mall that day, she walked away from us to go look at the hot guys, but then turned around and got pissed at us for falling behind. And this is why she said she didn't want us to date, yet we weren't even dating. She said she felt like she was gonna have to choose between Heather and I because of the whole situation, and I guess she just picked me. Becky became extremely codependent and didn't want to leave my side. She was pissed if I spent time with anyone else and basically forced Heather out of my life. I ended up running into Heather and inviting her to my 18th birthday, and this is when Becky had her massive breakdown. At my birthday, she outed me to everyone at the party, my mom, and Heather's mom as well. My Insta is linked below for more content. Story time. So I was accidentally a homewrecker. So the regular dating sites just weren't doing it for me, so I started dating on a fetish site. I soon matched with this guy around the end of March, and he was so attractive, and we decided to meet up. Obviously this was more for the purpose of hooking up, but we got along so well and he acted like he really liked me. He was the vice president of a massive company, 23 years older than me, and also had lots of money, which made him one big intriguing package. We started to meet up several times a week, but his only rule was we weren't allowed to meet on weekends, and I was never allowed to sleep over. I just figured it was because he was busy. Things progressed and we were still seeing each other in May. He introduced me to all of his coworkers and he was super affectionate with me in front of them. And he also introduced me to his receptionist as his girlfriend. However, things went way downhill when he picked me up from my house one day. He was making out with me and driving out of the neighborhood, and then I looked down and I saw a ring. He goes, this is just so the girls at the gym don't flirt with me. And I was like, dude, I know you work out at a private gym. So that's when he admitted that he had 2 houses, one for me and one for his family. Stay tuned for part 2 and follow me on Instagram. 2 of me accidentally being a homewrecker. So of course I freaked when he said that he had 1 house for me and 1 house for his family. Like, what does that even mean? So he said that we'll go back to his place and he'll explain. And I was like, no, I want to know what's going on right now. So he pulled the car over and he said that he's married to a woman who hasn't been home a lot because of COVID. She's a nurse. So he's been lonely and she was too vanilla for him. Then he told me his real name. So he had given me a fake name and a fake social media for months. I broke down because I was so pissed. And he kept saying that he cared about me and wanted to keep things the way that they were, so that's why he wasn't telling me. And he says that it wasn't hurting his wife or kids because they didn't know. And that's when I slapped him and told him that I couldn't believe that he made me into a homewrecker, and I asked him to take me right back home. When I got home, I blocked his number, and then I went on Facebook to look at pictures of his wife and kids. And I thought about reaching out and telling her so many times, but I was so scared that he was going to release pictures of me if he ever found out. None of his friends or coworkers ever said anything, so I'm sure he's just done this a million times. My Insta is below. Follow me and DM me if you have a story. Story time. My boyfriend cheated on me with not 1, not 2, but 26 different girls. And like all of these relationships start, we met on a dating app. As I was just casually scrolling through, I came across him, James, and I thought that he was so cute. So I obviously decided to hit him up. And we had a really, really good connection. But one hesitation that I had about him is that he was on his phone a lot, sometimes even ignoring me in the process. But we continued to date for about 3 years. We were still really young at the time, just 18, but we were very serious about each other. And we decided to make a step to move in together. He was currently living with his grandmother, so I decided to move in with them. His grandma and I got along so well, we were basically best friends, so it worked out. One day his ex randomly showed up, and because of this, it led to James and I getting into a massive fight. It got so bad that I decided to leave and stay with my mom for a few days. And while it was over, I got a request to join a closed Facebook group of 26 different women. Stay tuned for part 2 and add me on Instagram. Part 2 to my boyfriend cheating on me with not 1, not 2, but 26 different women. So obviously I was like, what the heck is this? Why are people requesting me to be in their Facebook group when I don't know them? And immediately I was greeted with some questions. And I already had a little bit of an inkling that it had to do with James because of his ex showing up. But a lot of the girls wanted to know if James and I were still together. And I was like, yes, we've been dating for a few years. Most of them said that they had been dating James for a few months, but some of them said years. So we were all literally dating this man. Even though this was difficult to process, they all had screenshots with proof, and they all had nasty pictures that he had sent them. A lot of the girls lived in different states too. He would just falsely promise that he was going to save up money and move with them. When I went home to go confront him on this, he said that all 26 of them were lying. He even said that some of them were his family members, which is a disgusting excuse. I'm not even for sure on why he thought that would be the lie to use, but I broke up with him that day. Follow me on Instagram, and if you have a story you want to share, DM me. Story time. I was kidnapped by someone that I thought was a friend. So I was in desperate need of a girls trip, so I hit up my 3 friends that were outside of my state, Maggie, Sarah, and Amber. All fake names, obviously. How did I get myself in this position? Made plans and arrangements so that I could come visit them. Another friend of mine that knew them offered to drive me down. His name was Max. I was super thankful for this because my family didn't want me to drive there by myself. I made sure they had his and my number before I took off. But the second that I got into the car, I had a really weird gut feeling. My stomach started to turn, but I didn't listen to it. I kept messaging my friends how excited I was to see them the closer I got, but then they just stopped messaging me. They wouldn't answer my calls either, and Max pulled me over to a gas station saying that we're about 30 minutes away from our destination. So I thought. I needed a bathroom break, so I went inside the gas station, but that's when Max took me by the arm and walked in with me. He wouldn't let me leave his side, even for a bathroom break, and that's when he took my cell phone away, and I knew that I was in trouble. I still didn't say anything out of fear. After we got back into the car, he gave me some juice, and then I passed out. Stay tuned for part 2 and follow me on Instagram. Storytime part 2, I was kidnapped by someone I thought was my friend. So after drinking whatever he gave me, I woke up after a few hours, and I was not with my girlfriends. I was 3 hours away from my home, and I didn't know this at the time, but I was at his house. My family knew that they hadn't heard from me in hours and started to get worried. They tried to get a hold of me, but obviously couldn't because I didn't have my cell phone. So they called Max. And I literally watched this man answer his phone and say that he didn't know me and doesn't know what they're talking about. Almost immediately after this happened, the cops called him. And I have no idea to this day what the cops said to him, but whatever they did, it worked. He helped bring me back to my house safely. And come to find out, Sarah, Amber, and Maggie were all in on it. They knew that he was obsessed with me and planned it so that I would spend the weekend with him instead of them. We pressed charges, but he really only got a slap on the wrist, but he's not allowed within 50 feet of me or to live in the same town or city as I am. Even though this happened when I was 18, it still haunts me at 28. Please speak up if you feel like something is wrong. Follow me on Instagram and DM me your story just like this one.
And bye, sisters.